All right, hey, this is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. Today's the 8th of January 2018, and I'm just getting finished up for the day. And I've been thinking about some things lately, and I probably should have made this video a few days ago. But sometimes I don't want to. I just don't want to because it's out of my comfort zone. And who wants to be outside their comfort zone? I don't. But then I feel as though I have a responsibility to the people that listen to this channel, and there's 5,000 subscribers on this channel, and I don't know if people even listen to it anymore because I'm just mostly talking about farming things, not political things that much. This is kind of political, but as I've told you, in the farming world, everything is interconnected, and I think it is in most walks of life. Everything is interconnected if you just look for it. And what I need to talk about today is what I think is happening in our country. And I cannot put any proof to it at this point. It's just a feeling, and I see a few things, I smell a few things, I hear a few things, and it all kind of comes together, And I'm looking down the road, and I know where I've been, and I have an idea where we're going right now, and it's different. It's way different. And then something happened today, and I thought, I got to give a heads up to my people, and hopefully you give a heads up to your people. Not that there's anything that needs to be done. We just need to see this coming. We just need to see it coming. Today, the Bundys out there in Nevada, Judge Navarro declared a mistrial. And you can research that on your own. I'm not going to go into it, but I knew a little bit about that whole situation because when that was going down, I went out there. I have a friend by the name of Sheriff Mack, and Richard Mack. He's not a sheriff anymore, but I was talking to him, and I said, you need me out there? And he says, yeah, we do. So I went out, and at the time, I was locking horns with the DNR here in the state of Michigan. The Bundys their thing was centered around endangered species. The Bureau of Land Management says they couldn't graze their cattle on public land because there was a little turtle out there that they might step on. And in my case, the Department of Natural Resources, which is like a state Bureau of Land Management, or they want to be, they were saying that we had to depopulate our animals. We couldn't do what we do because of invasive species issues. And you can research that. We wound up prevailing, not the way we should have. And the whole thing was a mess. And the reason it was a mess was because in our country for a long time now, we have not been under rule of law. Now, I don't know when that happened. I didn't get out of the military until 2004, and in the military, we definitely do things as rule of law. If you don't violate the law, you're okay. You could have a squadron commander who hates your guts, but so long as you don't violate the rule of law, you're fine. There's nothing they can do to you. In the civilian world, it's not like that. If you get somebody in government that gets your number, they seem to have ways to make life difficult for you without regard to rule of law. And it seems as though a lot of people in government are not held to the same standard as the average citizen. And so hence we are not under rule of law. But I have told you that I have a feeling that this second American Revolution that we're going through right now, a lot of the bad players who've been taking advantage of this lack of rule of law are going to be taken off of the board. And when this starts to happen, the players who have violated their oath of office are going to be vulnerable, very vulnerable, to being penalized for their past history. Let me see if I can put this in perspective a little bit. Rule of law. What's rule of law? You know, what's law? What's the ultimate law? Well, in the United States, under our system, we are a representative republic, and we are governed by a constitution. If you disagree with that and you want to say that no, we're a democracy, that's fine. But we are governed by a constitution, and that the representative republic part and the democracy part, they're kind of interchangeable. But the supreme law of the land is the U.S. Constitution, right? And I've said before many times, go to Google and ask Mr. Google if you can have a copy of the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. It's the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. Just read through them. Nobody ever has a problem with them. They're very straightforward, easy to read. It's about a page. And that is your contract with your government. That's what limits what they can do, right? Your government, they're your servants. They're there to make sure that the street lights stay on and that, you know, so on and so forth. But it hasn't worked that way. And we have had politicians, we have had elected officials, attorney generals, sheriffs, and so on that have taken oaths of office when they are elected. Before they're hired, they take oath of office, and then they have violated them, you know, by the numbers. And the public really has no recourse. There's nothing that we've been able to do. That's changing. We are going back to rule of law, and violation of oath of office for elected officials could be similar to the way it would be for military people who violate their oath of office and are found guilty under Uniform Code of Military Justice. Very bad, very swift, and very bad. So they won't want to do it. Along with my right to free speech comes a little bit of responsibility, stepping out of my comfort zone and saying things that could be hurtful to folks and things like this. But you got to do it. And I realize that some people take what I say and they take it personally. And I'm sorry. But under rule of law, a lot of that dissipates. Under rule of law, if you take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, and you violate that, and I call you out on it, I'm calling out your behavior. And people might have a hard time with that, but that's what happened. That is what happened. I was in the military for 20 years, and I took the oath of office 5 times. 5 times 4, 20. And I got an honorable discharge at the end. So that means I fulfilled my oath of office flawlessly, or else I would not get an honorable discharge on the other end. So it's not beyond the pale of reasonable thinking to think that a state senator could fulfill his oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. What's an enemy of the Constitution? An enemy of the Constitution is somebody who willfully subverts it. So, you know, here's where I go into a place that's kind of unfun, and I don't like to do this. About this time last year, Senator Kolbach called me, or maybe one of his minions called me, and wanted me to throw down on his campaign for governor. And when I did talk to Senator Kolbach, it was like he was saying, oh yeah, the thing what happened with you with the DNR, that was a terrible thing. We want to defeat Bill Schuette. We don't want him to be the next governor. So help me get elected and we'll defeat him. And yeah, all right, cool. Looked into a little bit. I was kind of in awe of a state senator calling me on my cell phone. But as I looked into it and I got to know him, I started to see some flaws in his voting record. And we did do kind of a meet and greet here at the farm with him and a lot of his friends, and everything was going good. But we asked him some questions and the answers weren't good. In reality, Senator Kolbach is reserving the right to violate his oath of office because he kind of knows there's not much we can do about it. The other guy, Bill Schuette, I mean, he violated his oath of office by the numbers. He should never be allowed. He should be held accountable for what he has done. And I believe under rule of law, he can be held accountable by the people. And, you know, we will see on that. But like in Colbeck's case, you know, nice guy, a lot of people like him. I told you a lady come up to me in a restaurant and said, you know, you should support him. He's a nice guy. And then she told me that, hey, he loves Jesus and all that stuff, and that I should support him. And I'm here to tell you that it isn't about whether he's a nice guy, whether he smells good, whether he loves Jesus or anything like that. It isn't about that. It's about whether or not he can fulfill his oath of office. That is rule of law. That is rule of law. You take an oath, a solemn oath before God and country. You say that you'll protect and defend my constitutional rights, but then you refuse to do it. As a matter of fact, you sign legislation that permits law enforcement to take my constitutional rights. So under rule of law, that's null and void. Anything that is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. I don't have to listen to it. And then when I'm sure I'd be arrested, but then when I do make it into court of law, the judge will say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't constitutional. Well, that's not been happening either, because our courts have been not governed by rule of law in a lot of cases, and that's so wrong. That is so wrong. But some things are changing. Things are changing. And I guess I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to make this sort of a little series, because I have some ideas how we can continue to talk about this. And when we do pick a governor, right, we're going to pick somebody who can and will fulfill their oath of office that they take when they're elected. I think we can do that. I know we can do that. We can find that man or woman that can do that. And as you know, I'm not a big political party person. So this isn't meant to be a political thing. Actually, I've learned a whole lot about how this process works. And I'd like to share as much of that as I can with you, but I don't want to go too long. This is Mark from Baker's Green Acres. Remember, anyone can farm.